How about yesterday land?
Yesterday land. I mean, that's just history. That's actually a lot of already existing theme parks.
And based on history, Talon have run a decent amount of the Sombra variation of goats before, and Apudo very happy to go back on this pick for himself. And for Jupiter, it is actually going to be Sabagod starting out on Ana.
They're also running Samurai D on Winston.
Just smart because they may be expecting some DPS to come through, and that early hack does mean his death.
Yeah, just a bit too vulnerable for a bit too long, and nice catch out on Fair as well.
It's about the only kind of trade happening here in 77 going down, but aside from that, you're not really seeing Jupiter pick up too much else. Kept going over super quickly as well. Apudo well on his way to that EMP, which he should have by the next fight. This is, by all means, now a super clean fight for them.
Yeah, and a really awkward fallback from Jupiter as well, despite the mobility here, not able to get many members back to spawn, losing a lot there, and now having to unfortunately give up some ultimate charge as well.
And they're not going to have this in Yada for the Transcendence as well, so they're really trying to rely on the fact that, okay, there's no Diva. Sabagod has shown a very good Ana throughout the tournament. That's something they can definitely rely on, and they're going to need it now.
Big EMP only catches 3 members, but that may well just be enough as Samurai D takes a lot of heat, will eventually go down. Start on Bashful, but they aren't quite able to finish him off, and honestly, in the time they spend trying to do that, they lose 3 whole members, and then the rest start to fall immediately after. So Talon, honestly, off to a pretty clean and easy lead here.
And not only did they not finish Bashful off, but they didn't force the rally out from him either, which means he's going to be able to use it for this next fight, get that armor bonus, and for Talon Esports, they need to charge these other ultimates while EMP is down. I say down, but Apudo at 60%, I mean, he might even still get it.
Down, but not for long is certainly what it feels like. Easily could come up over the course of this fight. And that's to say nothing of all the other ultimates Talon have over Jupiter right now. The Earth Shadow doesn't actually get much of a connection, but Gogora coming up on a grab and leading Kenmo Hororo in that regard could in itself be a huge factor.
And I think if this grab doesn't work, Apudo's definitely going to EMP this fight. Samurai D receives a nano, so maybe he can open something up.
Yeah, that grab out unfortunately catching most of the team while Samurai D was trying to get forward with that nano boost on, but he can't quite do all that damage himself despite that other ultimate on him. Now popping a Primal Rage, they had already lost Kenmo Hororo. Samurai D goes down. Very costly loss, and Jupiter, I think they knew that the time was running out. They decided to double down there. It all but guarantees they won't get a final fight after that, but kind of went in a bit of an unfortunate way, I dare say.
This grab is so awkward. It's at the spawn location.
They know they're done for.
100% is already going to be locked up here. Apudo still has an EMP, didn't even need to use it. Talon have basically won this with minimal engagements possible, minimal ults used as possible. Macro-wise, we look at the overarching strategy here. It's basically near perfect from the Talon side, and Jupiter, nothing really happened there. Basically didn't get to win anything.
That was honestly clean as you like out from Talon. Now just looking to replicate that here on City Center. Jupiter still struggling to make any kind of headway.
And by the way, if they were afraid of facing DPS on Gardens, Jupiter better be ready for it for City Center. You're looking at Talon Esports. It's looking like right now a triple DPS, probably remaining as a triple DPS. But honestly, Gogora could even go a Tracer here if he wanted to.
It is indeed going to be triple DPS, obviously with the Mercy in the pocket there. It means Apudo's able to remain on the Sombra that's worked so well for him.
So because they know Samurai D is going to respond with the Winston here, Gogora's Hog does respond to that as well. They're looking to get an early pick onto Samurai D as soon as he dives in.
And then just took a bit of a firing line, takes a bit of heat from Samurai D, but it's allowed Talon to set themselves up pretty cleanly on the point. Now Jupiter, they're going to have to walk through a lot of damage if they want to engage onto Talon here.
And points unlocked, just need to get in 77 in position on the high ground.
Beautiful.
Jupiter now need to find a pick.
Again, they have to send Samurai D up to dislodge him, and every time they do that, that's pressure he's not putting on someone else. And it leaves these little openings for Talon. Finally, they're able to get one through. They actually find Samurai D himself. Now they just want to drill down onto the rest of these members. Ryo's going to have a hard time protecting all of them on his own. So Jupiter, knowing that this is the situation, are going to have to start ceding some ground. This is likely going to guarantee the cap. Indeed, it is going to give the cap over to Talon.
And Bashful does have the barrage available as well. You're looking at Talon Esports and you're seeing ultimates come online. Jupiter give up that cap so early, and now they're going to fight into ultimates against City Center. Super notorious for how long it takes to flip back a point.
EMP is so massive. The sound barrier
barely
just took long enough to channel that Kenmo Hororo was not saved. It is a 1-for-1 so far, though, so Jupiter Down but not out, and a couple of low members of Talon here. Mew's going to go ahead and pop that minefield out. Gagora still holding on to a whole hog. Takes a stun, but they're able to finish off Anakin, so doesn't need to use that whole hog just yet, and may indeed want to preserve it for a future fight as Claire drops in 77, gets the Helix Rockets on Samurai D, and Talon are happy to hold on to a couple of ultimates here.
And the pick potential out of Talon is so high at the moment as well. You can just see Gagora floating around that map, hoping no one sees him, then the random hook comes through and you get taken down. And for Jupiter, still just trying to find opportunity, and members still flying out, members still going down, sent back to spawn, waiting to use big ultimates like the Graviton Surge.
That's the thing, you really cannot count out the burst damage that you can get from this Talon squad as well. Something like a Helix Rocket, even just a Pharaoh Rocket connecting in the right place at the right time can be such a chunk of your health. Enough of that can kill someone off really unexpectedly.
You're still sitting in a space where EMP is going to be a big factor. Sabagod on the Moira now, so still, you're not going to have a Transcendence, so we'll see how many this connects with.
Well, 4 is more than enough, as 3 of them were the only members of Jupiter with ultimates, and indeed those members are now dead. Well, Anakin survived, but not for long, I dare say.
This is starting to look a little bit more like Gardens now, where maybe a slight stagger onto Ryu. At the 90% mark, you're waiting for a couple of respawners, and Talon are just saying, look, happy to push this one to 99, even if you lose this one. You got so much to walk back in with.
And Sabagod ends up getting flanked out as well as Puto picks him off. Bashful a little bit overextended, but honestly, look at the place where they chose to take out this fight. They just keep these members forced well away from the point. Claire did try to wrap around. They got some touch on the point. Gagora ends up off the edge thanks to a whip shot. So maybe a bit too far forward here, but Talon honestly happy to stay in this one. Tac Visor is soon to be available.
I'm expecting Gagora to come back as a Tracer as well. Just really push this one to the limits here. Tac Visor maybe going to catch a few people if he's lucky.
Yeah, nice charging from Ryo is going to keep that one busy, so it does mean that Tac Visor doesn't get much value. It's also kept CQB pretty busy in his pocket. He ends up a bit left out to dry there, so Jupiter just sort of muscling Talon back.
This is when Talon Esports actually had a decent lead. You know, you can see the early picks coming through, and might even see a late pick coming through if they can really secure it, but not going to be the case. And Jupiter finally winning a fight means they're ticking up on that percentage and actually have a decent amount of ults to play with. So Talon have kind of bled everything here. Need to wait for the next EMP, which could still secure this point.
It does kind of feel like Talon tried to get too clever there, but at any rate, you're dead right. EMP will be the be-all, end-all here. Solo grab onto Muse, but honestly, it finishes them off. They're more than happy to make that commitment. Kenma Hororo, though, stunned up and finished off again. You cannot discount the amount of burst damage available to this Talon squad. That hook connects, and you're just a sitting duck. But catch on in, and the pressure in onto Gagora.
Oh,
nice
big
double with the self-destruct. Gagora was just about dead anyway, but getting Bashful out of the skies really takes the heat off Jupiter. A lot of ultimates used, but they'll gladly take the fight.
And I think Talon actually had a decent comeback potential there. EMP plus Barrage would have been an instant win condition just with that combo, and Jupiter finally really digging in their heels. You're seeing NN77 being compromised many times in a row, which is a little unfortunate because he's kind of there as bait. You want him to get jumped on and then he can run away, but so far he's getting picked out instead.
This is where things get tough though for Jupiter because that EMP barrage combo is still there.
Sonic
Sound barrier out. Aputo's down, and unfortunately that tactical visor doesn't get a lot done either. Ends up going down to the primal rage. So the few ultimates that Jupiter have at their disposal, very well utilized to force Talon back again. Now they don't have their most critical tool in the EMP.
So here's the big problem. They were not patient with the EMP at all. They just dived in, just used it at the sort of earliest opportunity almost. And because you only pick up 2 members, that's not nearly enough. Jupiter sound barrier their way through. They kind of just push through the brunt of it. And then suddenly they come out ahead. And for Talon, if they just kind of play the positioning more, found a better opportunity, they might have actually won that fight.
Sabagod's going to have a coalescence here. They're going to need it badly. Bashful dead before he can get much mileage out of that rocket barrage. So again, Talon not off to a hot start in this one. Coalescence from Sabagod getting a decent bit of mileage. They get CQB, and that ends up being a trade with Anakin. Now they're just back on the horse. Ryu going to get demexed, though. They need to get some kills here as that whole hog has run out. They finish off in. They get a Fudo as well. Minefield down from Muse. Oh, no.
Double.
Picking up 2. That's huge. He is still in a bit of trouble, but there's just enough presence here from Talon. And Bashful hot on the re-entry with the Tracer. Gagora gets a hook and headshot onto Kenwa Hororo, and suddenly Jupiter, in spite of all that good work done, just 2 with the minefield, and all that damage that can come out from Talon is enough to take it back, run out the clock, and Talon take away Oasis.
And I think this is the one that makes Talon sweat just a little bit because it almost didn't go their way. We nearly made it to the 3rd round, which, I don't know, you got a University, Both teams probably play the 3-3 mirrors there. Anything can realistically happen. Jupiter would probably prefer that matchup, if anything. And Oasis is going to still end up going 0-2 the way of Talon, but only just on City Center.
Yeah.
I think more on the Talon side of things, they kind of let that one go towards the end. They were looking 100% in control, but didn't get that 100-0.
Jupiter as well seemed like they started to get a real handle of what was going on. They very quickly wised up to what Talon needed to execute on, and they were mitigating a lot of things very well. And then on the other side of that, we did see Talon not getting as much mileage, especially out of things like the EMP. There's one particular fight where we noted that, but that started to happen more and more for Talon. I think it says a lot, though, that even in spite of all that, even though it got very close, there was, of course, the shutout prior to that, and Talon is still able to actually win City Center to close out Oasis.
Yeah, I think it was definitely a lot riskier, definitely skirting the line a bit more than they would have liked there or maybe have even expected. I still hold belief that if Kagura kind of came back as Tracer after going down as the Roadhog, maybe a little bit more impact, just a little bit quicker, these very small things can definitely make a difference. And even towards the end, if it wasn't for some very key picks, you know, Muse picking up 2 with the mines, that could have easily not have happened. That's 2 very slippery supports that maybe could have gotten away there. A couple of decent hooks from Kagura as well. So well played individually, and that's what we kind of start to expect from Talon Esports. Exactly.
I suppose it really just does go to show how much work does still need to be done by Jupiter here, even in that closest second part of Oasis. So moving forward into Eichenwalde, we'll have to see what they're able to pull out of the bag. Again, there is a lot of potential here for Talon. We saw that sort of Pharah Ashe composition earlier today, and honestly, that is one Talon have in their repertoire. So if they pull that out, we again go back to this question of how did Jupiter deal with that, given that they're probably just going to play 3-3 again.
And I think as well, part of that is a response to the potential of attacking teams also running DPS. And I think if you do that into someone like Caputo on the Ashe, it's probably a bad idea. He's been one of the better Ashes in the tournament so far. And Talon, obviously being one of the better teams, have kind of had the grasp on most of the different compositions, played most of them, have been successful in most of them. And now moving on to something like Eichenwalde, this is their strength because they are the team with a bunch of options. It feels like Jupiter are the team that don't have as many options, and that's been kind of holding them back.
I think that's fair to say. And in this instance, well, I think it's going to become predicated more on what Talon choose to run, or indeed not run, because this is also a match where they've got pocket strats still to go for. They want to hold on to them and not reveal them until playoffs.
Being said, respect being given as well, knowing that this is a very important map and match for both teams, being that Talon need to win this to secure number 1. Jupiter would definitely like themselves to maybe steal that number 4 position away from Global Esports with a win here as well. But so far, great start from Talon Esports, all things considered. Look to be rolling out with a Pudo on the Sombra here, so it is going to be the 3-3 Sombra Goats version that we've noticed. Not technically 3-3, but you know, this has been their bread and butter.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And it's something that not many teams have had a great answer to, aside from a Sombra Goats of their own, which Jupiter aren't quite willing to run. So let's see how well they can deal with this.
Jupiter on the tried and true for themselves. Sabagot in the Ana, which has definitely been his best pick so far in the season.
Yeah.
Samurai D in trouble once again, though, is a problem.
Yeah, takes a stun, and now it's Ryu isolated. No way of getting back to his team. Not quite sure what he was doing hanging out over there, but pays for it with his mech, and then after that, his life. So numbers advantage for Talon as they start to circle onto the point.
Yeah, he's looking for the off angle, but gets caught out by the hack, and this time around, it's Jupiter maybe being caught out by everything. Talon is just swarming over them.
I mean, it's just such brilliant play from Talon. They know their limits. They know that they've got an advantage. They press it to its absolute utmost.
Clean headshots from CQB as well. Running over this point, steamrolling their way through, not even done